calling it navigating the Amazon. There is no way in 1 hour we can tell you everything there is to know about navigating Amazon. So this is going to be a pretty quick uh, glance. Some things we'll camp out on, some important things. But for the most part, we're going to be giving you an introduction to Amazon. Much of what's on Amazon you'll find is pretty self-explanatory. It's not a difficult website to navigate. It used to be when it was CreateSpace. I thought it was far more confusing. Now that it's KDP, they seem to have taken pains to make it more user-friendly. So we're going to take you through it, introduce you to it, and please feel free as we go along. If questions come to you, you can send them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll take questions and discussion at the end. Okay, so why should we even publish on Amazon? Why do that? Number one reason, Amazon sells far more books than any other retailer. That's where people go to buy books. Just think of how you buy books. Myself, if I want a book, my first place to look is on Amazon because I know it's very likely they're going to have the book that I want. There are over 3 million books available on Amazon, so they have a wide variety. Secondly, Amazon is often the first place where your readers are going to be. So you're going for your customers. And lastly, Amazon lets you completely retain control of your content. This is extremely important. Some of you are familiar with the book Meg, and they made the movie about Megalodon, and Meg was a big Hollywood blockbuster a couple of years ago. The guy that wrote that book, I had his original copy of his manuscript and was working with him on it. And after he sold it, I think he sold it to Bantam. Bantam took all kinds of things out of his book, completely changed some of the key elements, and he was brokenhearted. He and I talked, and he was just beside himself that they would go through and cherry pick out things that they wanted to take out of his book. He had signed away his manuscript. He had no control over it. So when you work with Amazon, you are in control. You're in the driver's seat from beginning to end. Okay, Miss Jenny, we are going to turn things over to you. Jenny has developed a spreadsheet, which I think is amazing. I think you will find it extremely helpful as you work to navigate. So I'm going to stop sharing, and Jenny's going to start sharing. And we still have people that are jumping in. Karen is coming in. Jenny's computer takes a couple of seconds to share. It's coming.
It is a dinosaur. Okay, these costs that are in this worksheet are effective as of June 20th. Amazon or KDP is increasing their prices. Very, very minor. They're base in this first part of the spreadsheet. The base cost is going up from $2.30, going up to $2.30 from $2.15. For black and white books over 110 pages, it's up from from 85 cents to $1. So your overall cost for most of us who have books over 110 pages, your overall cost is going up by about 30 cents. But actually full color books, for children's books of less than 40 pages, it's going down by a nickel, big deal. But it's then going back up by the 15 cents for full color books over 42 pages. So it's minor. It's 15 to 30 cents. It's not going to break you. It's just something you do need to be aware of as you start to set your pricing. In addition to the base cost, you've got they now are doing, well, let's see, I went a little bit too fast. In addition to your base cost, you have, if your book's over 110 pages, and these are assuming the white paper, which everybody uses, it's 0.012 cents per page, and it's 7 cents a page for color. So color books are very, very expensive. And one thing to keep in mind is that even if you only have 1 page of color in the interior of your book, they will charge you the color cost for every page in your book.
Oh.
So because they say that they have to run it through an entirely different system to get that 1 page of color. So we'll look at what the costs are when we get down a little bit farther. They now do hardcover books. It's the same per page pricing, but the fixed costs are much higher in hardcover. If you'll remember, a book was going to be about $3.30 for black and white. It's $5.65 plus the whatever your entire page count is. So it's and obviously with color books for a hardcover, it's going to be astronomical. And like I said, we'll get down a little bit farther. I'm going really quickly on this because, like Mike said, we have a lot to cover, but that's why we sent everybody the spreadsheet. There is one cell that got locked that shouldn't be, and I'll tell you how to maneuver around that. You can very quickly then figure out with my spreadsheet what the cost of your book is going to be. If you've got a book that's, say, 40 pages long, your cost is going to be $2.30. If you've got an adult novel and let's say it's 280 pages, your cost is going to be $5.34. That's the $3.30 base cost plus your per page cost that they add to it for anything over 110 pages. That same full color book, let's say, for instance, you got really crazy and you said, I've got a 280 page book and I want 3 color photos in that book. Remember, they're going to charge you for every page of color just for those 3 photos. That 280 page book for 3 color photos in the book is going to cost you $21.40. Now, a general rule of thumb when you're setting your pricing is that you want to do 3 times your cost. Chances are you probably aren't going to sell a lot of books if you set your book at $63 to $65. So you really have to watch what you're doing when you get to the color. That same 280 page book as a hardcover is going to cost you $7.69. So you just need to look at what your market is going to bear. And that gets back to a marketing issue. If you're a brand new author, and this is your first book, if you're going to do hardcover and you're looking at almost $8, you're looking at about $24 rule of thumb for your cover price. There again, how many people are going to pay $24 on a brand new author they've never heard about? So if you're looking at an economical way, your paperback is the best way to go. One of the things that they are changing in KDP used to be no matter the size of the page, it was the same cost. They sent out a notification that anything over a 6x9, there's going to be an increased cost for the paper, but they have not yet said what that's going to be. So I can't cover that for you. And to just get really, really, really crazy, if you wanted to do that hardcover with 3 color photographs in it, you're looking at a cost of $25.25 to have 3 color photos in a 280 page hardcover book. Now we get down to our calculations. On that 280 page book, if you, let's say you wanted to set your selling price at $6.95, obviously you can't do that. Amazon takes 40% of your cover price off the top. And that's an industry standard for any bookstore. Then they take the cost of the printing. So you can see right away that you've got about $8 in your cost and their 40%. So you can't set your book at $6.95. So if we go with our rule of thumb, 3 times the cost, let's say we wanted to set it at $15.99, then you're not quite at 3%. at twice your cost, and you never will be, because every time you increase the cost of your book, there are 40% increases. But you can see, $4.25 is a reasonable amount of money for a book that's costing you $5.34. One of the beauties, when you get to the pricing page in the KDP setup, it will tell you what your minimum price is, by the way. That same page book, like we said, that same 280-page book, if it was a paperback and color, is going to have to be roughly $43. You're going to pay $21.40 for that color paperback with those 3 color photos in it, and you're only going to make $4.40 in royalties. That same hardcover book is going to be, back to black and white. You can set your price at $21 and you've got $4.91 in royalties. And for that hardcover with 3 color photos in it, you need to be about $75. That'll give you $19.75. Now, obviously, if you're willing to have less of a royalty, you just set your royalties for a lot less. But you need to keep in mind 2 things when you're looking at your costs. Number one, that's the most important, is Amazon takes 40% of your cover price. And number 2 is you have to stop and think, are you a well-known author? Is this your first book? Is it a subject that is just so hot that it doesn't matter if you're a brand new author, everybody's going to buy it anyway? So you have to stop and think about what the market will bear when you're setting your pricing for a book. I did not get into Kindle at all. Kindle is very, very easy. The range is anywhere from $1.99 to $3.99 because you don't have any printing costs. So I didn't address it in this calculation spreadsheet. And that should about cover that. I'm sure there will be questions. Mike, if you want to go back to me, and I'm not sure, how do I stop my sharing?
Well,
there it
just
is.
before you do that, well,
Oh,
as you do
sorry.
that, that's okay.
I'll go back.
Does anybody have any questions? This would be a good time to ask those since we're on this. Anybody?
I got one.
Go ahead.
How does Amazon pay? What is their when, and I mean, is it per copy? When do they cut royalty checks?
They cut royalty checks at the end of the month, that's 60 days after the sale of the book. So if you sell your book on the 2nd of May, they will pay your royalties at the end of July. So it's 60 days. Yeah, it's 60 days after the end of the month in which your sale occurred.
Okay, so my question is, do the publishing companies, the normal ones that are probably going to be extinct soon, use Amazon at all?
I doubt it.
Well,
You mean as far as getting their books printed?
Well, I know I use KDP, I use CreateSpace, and then I did Amazon, and then I did KDP. And honestly, Pete, you even commented about my margins, because CreateSpace said that if you're going to publish such and such a book, 6x9, blah, 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 blah. They had so many different things. You had to use these margins, blah, 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 blah. Honest, Pete, I don't think I've got any money out of all of it. So I just pressed another button, said unpublish until I could figure it out.
Yeah, and
my question is, and then one of my books, Northwestern, wanted to publish it, but my paranoia set in and I wasn't sure who was who, so I didn't do anything, and I haven't done anything, and I need, as you know, I need editing on a lot of stuff.
Lynn, on your KDP, you have an account.
Yes.
And have you put your financial information in there?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did the whole thing with you have a different page that you do your publishing, you do your I forgot the name of your income tax publishing thing. I have One was Screams of Words, the other one was Screams of Words and one short story. Honest to Pete, because I'm old fashioned, I was just doing it for during COVID just to keep myself occupied. And I wanted to see it in print. So I went ahead and ordered like author's copies, and I've got some author's copies. And your mind's kind of crazy. So the back cover page, I use some of my artwork. I use some of my poems. I did my memoir, 4 different things, but and then they switched from what, KDP to, or from
They switched from Create Space to KDP.
yeah.
Right. Lynn,
Um,
why don't we do this? Because our time is short. Let us continue with the presentation and
Okay,
see if
yeah.
you can
My
glean some
apologies.
things from
Sorry.
that. No, don't apologize. See if you can
Let me
glean.
give,
Well, see if you can glean from that. And if you have any further questions, I'll figure out a time to meet with you personally and we'll work it out. Okay, I'll see what I can do to help you.
No, I was just
with your
curious
KDP.
if you all had any experiences. No biggie. I'm sorry.
No,
let me
that's
just give
fine.
you a real quick answer to that. My understanding is that the royalties that Amazon pays you are based on the sales from KDP. If those of you who go out to iUniverse or Lulu or anybody else other than KDP to print your books, it depends on the contract you sign with them or the agreement you make with them where those royalties come from. I don't think like say you go to iUniverse, if your book is published through iUniverse, Amazon isn't going to pay you those royalties. They'll come from iUniverse. So my understanding is, like I just said, and then we'll go on, the Amazon royalties are just those sales from KDP.
The question has come in, what is KDP? It's Kindle Direct Publishing. Kindle Direct Publishing, and Kindle is Amazon's platform for their ebooks.
And I'm
Jenny,
going to stop sharing.
go ahead. All right, and we will move forward. All right, good discussion. This is such an important topic for all of us. We all will have to deal with Amazon at some point or another. So I am sharing again, and everybody should be able to see our presentation. Okay, moving on. So that was Jenny's spreadsheet. I recommend you take some time with it. Everybody should have received it. If you want the more updated version, Jenny did some tweaking on it. Just let her know and she'll be happy to send it out to you. Okay, and okay, edit first, then publish. Jenny, I think this is you.
Yeah, we're not going to get into a big long discussion of editing. That would be more than an hour just by itself. But the beauty of publishing with KDP is once you have a book that is edited and you think is ready to go, chances are there's always going to be at least one mistake in it someplace. And the beauty of KDP is that they don't charge you for updating a new file, whether it's a cover file or an internal file. They will go through, they can take up to 72 hours to approve that new file once you upload it, but there is no charge for that. And that's one of the really good things. I don't know if it's changed, but I do know at one time that Lulu used to charge you every time you wanted to make a change. It was $2, $25 as a flat fee and $2 for every change you wanted to make. So it could get very, very expensive. Now, how they knew how many changes you made, I don't know. But anyway, I worked with someone a number of years ago, and that was her complaint with them. So, and as I've said before, the beauty of self-publishing is that anybody can self-publish. The downside is that anybody can self-publish. So I really, really recommend that we all police ourselves and be our own quality control managers. The better quality books that we can put out there, the more the reputation for self-publishing is going to grow, because we've had a hard time getting past the idea that anybody who self-published only did so because it wasn't good enough for anybody else to look at.
Right. And I would just add to that, that's where critique groups come in handy. beta readers. Anita has sold me on beta readers. That is extremely important as you're getting ready to publish. You want your best work when it goes public. You want as few errors and mistakes and problems as possible. I am going to be talking about the Amazon bookshelf. When you do establish your account on Amazon, you're going to be using your same login as you would on your Amazon account. And you create a KDP account over here. So you get this is the main, let me go back. This is the main page. And from this page, this is your bookshelf. And all of your books will be listed there. And let me see if I can show you.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not going to take the time, but if you get to this page, it's your Kindle Direct Publishing page. See where it says bookshelf up here? You just click on that. It will show you all the books you currently have on KDP. It'll show you whether they are in paperback, hardback, or if they're Kindle. You actually have to set up your Kindle separately. It's the same book, same internal material, and you can use the same cover art, but you do have to set it up separately. So don't assume that once you set up your paperback book, you automatically have a Kindle book. You don't. That has to be set up separately, but it can be the same book. You can also do what I've done. You can set up a series. You can tell KDP that your individual books are part of a series. And as you publish new books in the series, you just include them in the series. And they get listed as a series on your page. So this is the bookshelf, and I'm letting somebody else into the meeting, and I'm going to move on. So copyright. Copyright is a fascinating issue. Basically, as soon as you write something, it is copyrighted. That is the way that the copyright laws are. As soon as you type it in, it is copyrighted as you type it. However, personally, I have been in a position where I've been burned before. So I like to have an actual copyright of my stories, of my books. So it's very easy. You go to the Copyright Office, US Copyright Office, you register, you go to the Literary Works tab, then you register a literary work. It's all very self-explanatory, very easy to do. They're going to want your information. You create an account with them, and then you go to copyright registration. And I think the last time I paid for copyright which wasn't very long ago. I think I paid $45 for it. It's very nice too, because you can go into your account at any time and you can check and see which books you've received copyrights on. And they will send you a certificate explaining that you own the copyright on your book.
Oh.
I felt it was very helpful to have that. Go ahead.
If I
Jenny.
might add just one thing, be very, very careful when you go out to on the website if you're going to do it online. It is a government site. You have to pay for the copywriting, but there's no additional filing fee on top of that. You need to make sure that you stay on the .gov site, because there are websites that'll hijack you and you'll think you're still on the government site, and then you end up paying an extra $50 sometimes for them to file it, and you still have to pay the $45 for the copyright fee. So just make sure that you stay on the .gov site and you don't get hijacked.
Jenny,
Yeah.
that one time that we did it, it was $100.
Was it
Is what they
$100?
Yeah, that's what they hijacked me for that time.
And you're the one I was thinking of that we got
Yeah.
hijacked. So
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did.
Well, I'm
Yes, we
thinking the
did.
more important thing is if you get hijacked, they take all your work and they get
No.
the royalties.
no, you still end up with the copyright. What they're doing is they're charging you to file it for you, and filing it is free. The fee is to register register the book, but there's no filing fee per se. So what these hijacking sites are doing is they're saying, we'll file it for you, which is like pushing a button at the bottom of the page.
What we
And-
did.
Yeah, and they pay you and they charge you for it. So just make sure you stay on the .gov site.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, they're basically acting like a broker. And they're charging you a broker's fee when you don't need a broker. Okay,
Mhm.
moving on. Category and keywords. This is how people find your work. When somebody does a search on Amazon and they're looking for a particular book, they're going to be looking for keywords. So you're going to, as you're setting up your book, you'll come to this part. And again, Amazon and KDP, they have done such a good job of helping you set up your book. You start, at the very beginning, and you'll upload your text, you'll upload your cover, and then it's going to walk you through page by page every step of the way. And if you have other things to do and you can't do the hour or so it's going to take to do this, you can save and stop, and then you can come back to it later and finish the process. So it's very, very nicely done. I can't compliment them enough on the way they've made it easy. But one of the things you're going to come to is you're going to come to category and keywords. So you have to tell them basically what your book, where it would fit on a bookshelf in a bookstore. That's your category. Keywords are what words people might use in a search and to find your book. So my books, this series that I have, God Send, is for Christian youth, Christian teens. So my keywords are Christian, adventure, faith, teen, fantasy, spiritual, and angels, because all those things are dealt with in the book. They're not the best words. I might go back, and that's another nice thing. You can go back and change them anytime. It takes about 24 hours for them to be changed on your site, but you can actually fiddle with these. You can put them in. If you don't get a good response, you put in different ones. You just keep playing with it until you get the kind of response that you want. You'll
And
see.
you can also use more than one word. Like here, he could have
Yes.
used fantasy adventure. He could
Right.
have used Christian and spiritual. You can use coming of age. You can use short text strings. You can't put a whole sentence in, but it doesn't have to be just a single word.
Right, absolutely. Where you find this, if you do want to edit it, if you want to change your words, if you just go to your bookshelf, and each book is shown and listed, and there's an ellipse right next to your book. You click on that, and it says edit book details, and that's where you edit your category and your keywords. Okay, your author page. This is one of the most poorly done part of Amazon in terms of what authors do. People don't pay enough attention to their author's page. And the author's page is your face to your readers. So you really want to put together a nice author's page. So when you go to your KDP account, you select marketing, then you click on manage author page. Couldn't be more simple. And it'll take you to a very nice page that you can edit, you can upload, you can change your text. There's going to be a section, like you can see mine here, about the author, and you get to write this. You list your books, you can put whatever you want on your author's page. And then when people go to Amazon and they go to your book, there'll be a little box next to it that says about the author, and people can click on that and it takes them to your author page. It's free publicity. You would be shocked to know how many authors don't put their author pages together. But it really is, it's free publicity. You can show all of your books on your author's page. People may not know that you have other books that they might be interested in. So take advantage of the author's page. It's very helpful to you. Okay, formatting. And Jenny, you are up on this.
All right, here again, there's just so much. Again, the beauty of self-publishing is that you can pretty much make it look the way you want it to look. You can choose whatever font you want, although the standard is Times New Roman. You can choose the size, although the standard is 12 point. There are currently 23 different standard paperback sizes you can choose from with KDP. I would say 90% of them are either going to be 6x9, 8x10, or 8.5x11. But the sizes range from 5.06 by 7.81 inches to 8.27 by 11.69. Now, how they came up with those sizes, I don't know. When you get to hardcovers, there's only 5 sizes. They range from 5.5 by 8.5 to 8.25 by 11. But you can choose whatever you want. It's kind of seems like the standard industry these days for self-publishing is 6x9, but I have done a number of children's books 8x10, and I've done quite a few larger books 8.5 by 11. Like I said, up until June 20th, they supposedly are changing. They're going to charge you extra for anything over a 6x9. They have not in the past, so I don't have any costs on that. Then they don't care what the inside of the book looks like. They do check for plagiarism. They do check for obscenity. They do check for inappropriate material, those kinds of things. You cannot have more than 2 blank pages in a row within the interior of your book. They check for those kinds of things. But other than that, you can put anything you want together for the inside of that book. But if you want to look at, and we've got some slides here that are coming pretty soon, if you want to look at the front matter and the back matter, there's front matter, there's the interior, and there's the back matter. And those are industry standards that we'll get to on another slide. But pretty much you can do whatever you want. You have to keep in mind that you need a gutter. The gutter is that space in the middle of your book that you need some extra space there so that as the book opens, your print doesn't get swallowed in the spine of the book. The standard is either for a very, very thin book, it's 1/4 of an inch gutter. The standard for most books is 0.3. But if you've got a book that's say 600 or 700 pages, you're probably going to want to increase that gutter to as much as 1/2 an inch. Keep in mind how much the book is going to fold, kind of curve as you open the book. And I do everything in Word, and Word is real easy about you set your top, your bottom, your left and your right margin. There's a blank for setting your gutter, and then you want to click on mirror margins. But if you don't do all of that and the book eats itself in the spine, they don't care. So that's one of the downsides of the self-publishing world is you have to kind of know what you're doing to make a quality looking book on the inside. So
Yeah, because the formatting comes out really bizarre. Been there, done that.
that's where somebody that knows what they're doing comes in handy.
And I don't.
Yeah, but I do. There's a lot of us that do, and it's relatively easy if you do want to learn it yourself. All right, I'm not going to try to read all of this because there's a tremendous amount. But the standard front is each of these sections are supposed to start on an odd numbered page. Your odd numbered page is always the right hand side of the book as the book is open. So each of these start on a right hand side page, an odd numbered page, although front matter is not numbered. The back of it is traditionally left blank unless it's like when you get down to the dedication or when we get down to acknowledgements, table of contents. If it takes up more than 1 page, obviously it goes onto the back. But you've got the half title page, which is just the title of your book. You've got the next one is optional. If you wanted to have by the author also in the series, a lot of people put photos of their other books at this kind of a thing. Then the title page, which is the title and the author. The back of that's one of the rules that gets broken. I always call it the legalese page. it goes on the back of your full title page. Then the dedication is optional. The epigraph, that's like if you wanted to put a quote from a famous person, something like that, that's what an epigraph is. The table of contents you very rarely ever see for a fiction. It's almost always in a nonfiction book. Until you get into ebooks, they do require you to have a hyperlinked table of contents in your ebook so that people can jump back and forth from chapters. That's their way of bookmarking things. Illustrations obviously are optional. The foreword, and please note the spelling. It is Foreword. I can't tell you how many times I changed the spelling on that one. Then you've got all of those pages are never numbered. Then you get into the rest of the front matter, which you've got a preface, which again is optional, either by the author or by the editor, and acknowledgments. And those are generally with Roman numerals, beginning obviously with one I. Then when you get into the next, there we go. And then into the next slide. Now we get into the main body of the book. The introduction is optional. The prologue is optional. As you can see, it's common in plays. It's rare in nonfiction. You often see a prologue in fiction. There again, if you have an epigraph, that goes in there. The text, which can be, most of us put it into chapters. Some of us have a part 1, a part 2, a part 3. If you have, like, say, part 1, there again, that always goes on a odd numbered page. It is not numbered, but it is included in the page count when you resume your numbering. And the back of that is traditionally always left blank. And then you've got the epilogue, which you may or may not have. You've got an afterword, again, that's word, not ward. And you've got a conclusion, which may or may not be, there again, it's optional. Obviously, the only thing in there that is not optional is the text, which is the body of your book. Wouldn't have a book if you didn't have the text. And now we're looking at at Arabic numerals, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you've got the back matter. All of this is optional. You've got appendix or appendices. Many people have a glossary. I know Freddie Gold puts a glossary in hers because she has this entirely very fascinating whole language that she's made up for her aliens. Bibliographies and reference lists you very, very seldom find in fiction, but you quite often do in fiction. List of contributors if somebody else helped that's not in your acknowledgments. An index, there again, primarily nonfiction. Something called errata that most of us people are not aware of, which is a list of errors and corrections. You don't see that as much anymore because with self-publishing, you just upload a corrected copy. This kind of gets back to the traditionally published books that they'll come out with a second or third printing and they'll say, oh, by the way, that we found these errors in the earlier printings. And a colophon, which I thought was a good name, which I didn't know, which we call about the author. Biographical notes for the design, the designer of typography, author or editor information with or without a photo. Those generally go at the back of a book because obviously this is back matter. Unless you're doing a hardcover, then they traditionally go on the back flap of the dust jacket. You always have to have an even number of pages. So if your book happens to end at the very back, I suggest you put in 2 blank pages because it's considered tacky to end your book and then right there's the cover. They always want at least another page after you get done reading things. Blank pages are not numbered, but they are included in the page count when you resume numbering. So that's very, very quick on a lot of information.
Absolutely. Book cover design. Jenny, if you keep going, you're doing great.
I do mine in Photoshop, but I know a lot of people don't use Photoshop. So you have 2 options with KDP. You can either use their template or you can upload a print ready cover. We're going to talk about using their templates because they're very, very easy. They allow you to upload your graphics that you want to use for your cover. If you'll see that kind of orange border around it with the dotted line, they tell you that you can't have print outside of that. They put everything together, they glue it all on, and then they run it through a chopper and they cut off 1/4 of an inch all the way around. That's how they get those books nice and neat and clean when they send them out. So you always have to, if you happen to be doing your cover design and then uploading a print ready cover design, you always have to allow for that extra 1/4 of an inch all the way around that they're going to cut off. The spine, they're really, really cool. You put in your page count if you're using a template. If you're doing your own, it's actually a formula. Most people use white paper, so it would be the page count times 0.2252. If you're doing it yourself, or if you're using cream colored paper, it's the page count times 0.0025. But the template is, it's really easy to use, and it shows you just where everything goes. There again, if you're doing it by yourself, you have to allow the bottom 2 inches on the inside of the bottom cover. You can see there the yellow block where it says the barcode. If you use Amazon's KDP's free ISBN number, they include that barcode. Otherwise, you have to buy it, and they are relatively expensive. But you have to leave that area not blank. I mean, you can have a design, but you can't have anything important that barcode's going to cover in that bottom 2 inches. So it's pretty easy to do. You choose your book size, you tell it your page count, and you upload your graphics.
Yeah, again, this is a place where KDP has made it very easy for us, and they have templates. You can give them your it's almost like shopping for a design, for like wallpaper. It's like shopping for something for your house. They give you all these different designs for book covers, and you can select one, and then you can modify it and bring it to what you want it to look like on your book.
And they are free. Lorelei asked the question if they were free.
Yes.
They are free. For those of you who want to choose your own, there is getting a little bit off the subject, but my absolute favorite go-to site is called Pixabay. Pixabay. They have literally tens and tens of thousands of photographs and graphics and designs that are all totally free. They're commercially free. You can crop them, you can alter them, you can do whatever you want with them. They don't care. They ask you to credit them in the book to acknowledge it, but even that's not mandatory. So, but yes, there are a number of designs in. The problem of using KDP's templates is you have to realize KDP currently has, I think, 2 or 3 million self-published books on their site, and you're liable to run into other books that have used that same template. So I suggest you go with your own cover design, but you don't have to.
Well,
Right.
the other thing is that they also have a prerequisite or a requirement of what is it called when you're using your graphics design and your publication, your photos? It has to be a certain quality.
Yeah,
So
300
yeah,
300
using their
DPI.
free design is much better. If you use something like your own artwork, it has to match their, what is it called? DPI? Or
It's the
something.
DPI, which means dots per inch.
Yes.
It's the resolution. If you remember the old newspapers, you used to be able to actually see the little tiny black dots if you looked close that
Yeah,
made
yeah.
up the photographs. DPI is pretty easy. Any scanner, if you're scanning your work in, they do traditionally do a minimum of 600 if you're scanning original photographs. If you download anything from Pixabay, just choose their largest file available. And it will easily go down to 300. There's very, very inexpensive, I think I paid $40 for it, software that will allow you to enlarge a smaller photograph up to about 10 times without losing the
Quality.
sharpness of it, the quality of it. if you run into an issue where you want to use a photograph and you have trouble with that, give me a holler because I've got that software and it doesn't take very long to do, and I'll be glad to help with that.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh,
It-
what's the name of the software? Excuse me for being rude. I got to look at my other computer.
Okay, while she's doing that, the nice thing about working with KDP is that if you're doing your book cover design and you put a photograph in there or a graphic that is not up to their quality, it'll tell you. It communicates with you as you're doing the process. So they make it fairly easy to do. Go
And
ahead,
all your
Jenny.
photographs inside also have to be 300 DPI. You can load color photos into your interior as long as you tell them you want the book to be black and white. You don't have to yourself change them into grayscale. The
Right.
printer will do that. You just tell them it's a black and white book. So you can load color photos inside. Lorelei, the software that I use is by a company called Inpixio. That's IN and then a capital P as in Paul, IXIO, Inpixio Maximizer 5. Very, very inexpensive, super, super easy to use.
You know, one thing that I'm going to interject here that when you do put your text in and you do put your cover in, the next thing it's going to ask you to do is preview what you've done. And it's really cool. It sets up your book right in front of you and you click to turn pages. And you can go through your entire book and make sure that everything is where you want it to be. And if you, as Jenny said, if you upload a photograph and you do it in color, but it turns it black and white, you can see what it's going to look like. You may not be happy with it after you see the way it's been grayscaled and changed. Again, then you have decisions to make as to whether or not you want to use that photograph or change it yourself and then upload it again.
Or send
Any-
it to me and let me fix it.
Or send it to Jenny and let her fix it. She alone
I
can
vote for
fix
that
it.
one.
Where did we hear that before? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. ISBN numbers, all books have an ISBN number. Now, Amazon will automatically assign one for you. You do
Free.
not have to do that. It will do it for free and they will assign it to you. Now, if you want your own ISBN number, you can do that. It can be purchased, but again, you really don't have to. Amazon will do it for you. Same with the barcode. Every book is going to have a barcode on it. They will put the barcode on for you. You don't have to do that. So unless you want to buy your own barcode for whatever reason, you want to retain control of that. As Jenny said earlier, it is expensive, but they will do it for you. So they'll do the barcode, they'll do the ISBN number. All of that is included and it's free. The one other thing I wanted to talk about was reviews. Once you get your book on Amazon, ask people who buy your book to give you a positive review. And don't be afraid to say positive. Don't just say, will you please give me a review? Because you may be opening yourself up for a bad review. I always say, would you please give me a positive review? And if they say, well, you know, I really can't, then say, then don't give me a review. I'd rather not have a review than have a negative one. I went to a conference and this guy was talking about how he wrote a book and he published it on Amazon and somebody wrote a negative review. So he called all of his friends and asked them all to put in a review just to knock that negative one further down the line so it wouldn't be the one that people would read first. So we just have to be clever about this. I know whenever I read a book from the club, I always put a review on. Always ask people to put reviews for your work because again, most of the people who are using the keywords and are navigating through Amazon, they don't know you. And the only way they're going to know whether or not they want to buy your book or not, one of the things they're going to look at is the reviews that you've been receiving.
Amazon will not allow you to post a review if you do not have an account with them and if you have not spent a minimum of $50 on the Amazon website.
Right, and they do have to buy the book to put a review of the book. They can't
Yes,
just
they do.
go on and submit a review because you asked them to. So,
Can I
but-
make a comment? I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Kimberly.
I had asked several people, actually I had a bunch of people, I asked them to put a review and they all said that they did. And I was told that they wouldn't put it up because they said, if you know the people or they're related to you, they wouldn't put it up. And so one girl who was not related to me at all, she got up and she said, I've known her for years and blah, blah, blah. They put that one up. I only have like 2 or 3 reviews and none of them were family, but they said they wouldn't put them up. And I asked other people, well, where is it? She said, we sent it in. They bought the book. And so that's what Amazon told me. And so I didn't know if anybody else had experienced that or not.
And for those of you who I have edited your books, I always put my name inside, edited by. I cannot post a review. If your name appears inside the book in the acknowledgments or as the editor or anything like that, they will not allow you to post a review.
Well,
Okay.
And they do check that.
Now,
So
my
if
mom
you did
posted a
not-
review for my book. So I know that, you know, like I said, my mom posted my best reviews. So I don't
Okay.
know if everybody else's experience has been the same.
My experience has been is the name has to be in the book. If you, those of you who like to credit everybody in your critique groups, I may be wrong on this, but my understanding is if your name appears like in the acknowledgments or anything like that, they don't allow you. The family name doesn't matter as much as whether or not you're specifically mentioned in the book.
Okay, yeah, that wasn't my case, so
I've had
I'll call
all
next
kinds,
time.
I've had all kinds of people write reviews and they were published.
That's so
Family
crazy.
members to friends to people who bought them, not on Amazon. I've had kinds of reviews done.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I would challenge it, Kimberly, because there's no
I will
reason for
next
them not
time.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I will next time.
Okay, book launch. And again, our time is very short, but I wanted to ask Mary Ruth Hughes if she'd be willing to talk for a couple of minutes about a book launch, since you've done what I consider to be the best book launch I've ever heard of.
Oh, well, thank you, but that would take a long time for me to tell you, but I will tell you from the beginning, when you're writing your book, I thought, where will I be able to market this? What area of the country or who will be buying my book? So I wanted to do a book tour and signing and go on a book tour at different towns and sign the books and sell them there. And so I had my main character go in the story to go to those towns, and then I would find out something unique about the town and mention it. So after the book was published, I did a book signing and a tour of 18 different cities. And they all were thrilled to have me there. And I didn't have to, I mean, I had to drive and pay gas and take the books. But as far as paying for posters and all that, I did it on the computer. And then I would call up the Chamber of Commerce and ask them, where is the best coffee shop? Where does everybody hang out? I didn't want to do it at a bookstore because they charge you 40% and you have the competition of all the other authors. But in a coffee shop, they're there to buy coffee and they come up and talk to you and you can sell your book. So I thought I will do my book signings at different coffee shops in these various towns. So the first thing I would do is call the Chamber of Commerce, find out where the hot spot was, then I would call the owner of the coffee shop and I would give him a spiel about, I've written this book. I'll be coming through your town on a book signing tour. Would you like to host a signing? And I had no one ever turn me down after I got through talking to them. They were thrilled. I said, I will send you through email a poster, which I'd already made up, where all I had to do was write the date and the time. And they would print it up and they would put it in their window. They would do the advertising that way. And then once I got a solid booking, I called the feature editor of the local newspaper, and I had a whole press release done. And I would ask them if I could send them a press release and that I would be in their town on a specific date signing. And they would usually do a whole feature and in their newspaper. So by the time I got to the town and set up, it was great that I had sometimes people waiting out the door. And then the next day I would go to the next town. And another thing, if you're doing it as a business, this whole road trip and hotels and food is a whole write-off for the income tax for what you make. And by doing that, and I'll try to make a conclusion now, by doing this, one of my books had gotten to a historian in Oklahoma who's written 100 or more history books. And he did a review in the Oklahoma City newspaper, a whole spread on it on a Sunday, and commending me for all the history. And he really did a great job. And by him doing that, the Smithsonian got a hold of me because of all the history and the facts. So now they sell my book in the Smithsonian in the Indian section. They also sell it at Crazy Horse there at the museum. The Chickasaw Nation buys it. They have 18 casinos. But by doing that book signing tour like that and getting it all across Oklahoma and people reading the book, and it is a book about the Chickasaws, but there are the main tribes are the 5 civilized tribes. And I had all kinds of people come up to me from the various tribes and say, the same thing happened in our family. And they were very excited about it. And then I did sequel, and then I could go back to the same places. I've done a few, not a whole lot, but the 18 city book tour was very successful, and it opened up doors that you cannot imagine with the Smithsonian and the reviews it got. So that's why I'm trying to do it in a hurry. I could tell you a lot more detail, but
So now you know, before you do your book launch, you need to have a cup of coffee with Mary Ruth Hughes and hear the whole story.
but
Okay,
think as you're writing where you want to go, and you put your characters in that area, and then you find out something unique about that town, and you have your character mention something about it, like Newton, Kansas. I had my character go there, and he's walking along the street going from the train station to the Harvey house because he's going to go back and get on the train. He's going to Washington, D.C., but he stopped there. So then he looks down at the brick sidewalk and he sees a brick that said, "Don't spit on the bricks." Do you know why they did that? Because there was a lot of tuberculosis going around and they didn't want people spreading the germs. So anyway, that was a unique thing about that town, and I was able to incorporate it in the book.
excellent,
thanks.
excellent. Okay, so once you get your book ready, you upload it and you publish it. and it takes about 2 days for them to go through your manuscript, your materials. Jenny, did you have anything else to add on this?
Just that they say 72 hours, but I don't think I've ever known them to take the full 3 days.
No, it doesn't take the 3 days. And then you order your books, and on your author's page on your bookshelf, you will see this little button that says order author copies. Now, the key on this is you got to order them in advance. Don't expect them. They come 2-3 weeks sometimes. So you have to order them far in advance of, if you're going to have an event or a book signing or something, make sure you get your book order in very early.
Always allow a minimum of 3 weeks. And if that button doesn't say order author copies, there's a number of items on that drop down menu that he's got circled. But if you look just to the right of that, you'll see those 3 little dots on that button. If you push that little button right there, you'll get that drop down menu and you go down to your order author copies if it doesn't appear that way.
Yeah, but you have to also realize it has a banner across that says author's copy.
No, that's if you order a proof
No.
copy. If you
Yeah.
order the proof copy, it got the banner all the way around that says this is a proof copy. Author's copies are what you always want to order, particularly if you're going to go to any kind of a book signing, because the author's copies, you get them at the cost, your printing cost, plus whatever the shipping and handling is, which varies by the number of books you order. You then can sell them for anything that you want. Proof copies are, to me, are a waste of time because they've got that banner across them. And let's say it's perfect, it's exactly the way you wanted. You can't do anything with it because it says not for resale.
Yeah.
So go
Right.
ahead and don't order a proof copy, order an author's copy.
All right, well, maybe I didn't know the fine line things, but thanks
Yeah.
for telling me. I because I did both on a couple, and all of a sudden I go, okay, author's copy. Well, I just wanted to know what the hard copy looked like, so I don't know.
Yeah, just go
Okay,
ahead
good.
and he skipped over, there's a whole page that he skipped over that's self-explanatory where you set all the pricing. And I pretty much covered that in the cost calculator, but it shows you all of the different marketplaces all over the world that Amazon sells for. they
Yeah,
show
and
you all
that's
the
another
different
thing, all
monies
over the world. I think I must have pressed one button that said all over the world, because I don't get anything.
no, you get it all in American money. You just probably aren't selling anything in Japan or Spain or Germany or whatever. But yeah.
Okay.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
order an author copy, because to me, the proof copy, like I said, it says right on it, not for resale. To me, it's just a waste of money to order a proof copy.
Okay.
Okay,
Good.
Jenny, this is you. Set up as
All
a
right.
reseller.
You want to set up for a reseller. You have to go to Amazon to do this. It's not done through KDP anymore, but it's relatively easy. The reason you want to get set up for a reseller is if you're going to do a lot of direct sales, like Mary Ruth does, like Mike Apodaca does, if you're going to go out to author signings, if you don't get set up as a reseller, even though you're buying what you're considered author copies, Amazon will charge you sales tax on that author's copy. And the state of California does not care whether or not you paid sales tax when you ordered the books. They are only concerned that you give them the sales tax based on what you sold the book for. So you are, in effect, if you're doing a lot of direct sales, you're doing double taxation for whatever the cost of your book is. And my theory is, why give the state of California any more money than you have to? So you want to get set up as a reseller. You have to get your resale license with the state of California. And then there's a form that you fill out and you send it to Amazon and they register you as a reseller. The one thing that you do have to be aware of, though, is if you get set up as a reseller, then Amazon assumes that you don't want to pay sales tax on anything that you buy. So you have to manually, when you're ordering a bunch of stuff, clothes or vitamins or whatever else you order that aren't books, you have to go down for each item that you're ordering and there's a little button that says remove sales tax. Otherwise, they don't charge you sales tax on everything else. And if you do it a lot, the state of California might realize how much you're doing. I mean, you always run the risk of getting caught by not paying sales tax. So that's the only downside is I wish that they would say you just have to unclick not to pay sales tax on the books, but you don't. It's the opposite way. You have to click to remove the sales tax exemption on everything you buy on Amazon that isn't a book. But if you're doing direct sales, a lot of it, to me, it's worth it because otherwise, like I said, you're paying, double tax on the cost of your book.
Wow, you guys really researched this. I'm impressed.
And this is you too, Jenny.
This is, you go to Amazon and you look for their Amazon tax exemption wizard. It's really straightforward. You just walk through there. It'll ask you they used to, I haven't done it in a while. You used to be able to either attach it as in a digital copy as an email, or actually we'll give you a fax number and you can physically fax it to them. They may have done away with that physical fax. They may make you do it all digitally now. Like I said, I haven't done it in 5 or 6 years, and at the time you could still physically fax them a copy. But you just go through their Amazon tax exemption wizard. They ask you do have to give them a social security number, an address. Post office box I don't think works. You have to give them a street address kind of thing. But it's really, really self-explanatory. The thing that you just have to have ahead of time is you have to go to the state of California and you have to get the California reseller's tax license, which is what you're going to be sending to them. There again, that is free. You just go to the California site. If those of you don't know what it is, drop me an email and I'll send you the link to that. But it's free to get your resale license, and you do it all online and you've got it right there. You just print it out on your printer when you fill out the form at the California site, turn around here and submit it to them.
Absolutely. Okay, that concludes our presentation. Are there any questions? We've covered a lot of ground in a very short time. We went over a couple of minutes, but any questions at this point? Anything that we can deal with that you might have questions about?
I have a short question. Jenny, you mentioned a couple of times, how much extra we would pay just to have 3 color photographs in a book, but it would be the same price if every single page was color, right?
Absolutely. And that's the point
That's
to
what I
remember with a color book. Even if you have one color page in a book, they charge you the color price for every single page of the book.
Yeah. 'cause
That
they have
does
to
not
run it through
include the
color
cover.
press.
Yeah, exactly. They have to run it through a different system for the color.
Yeah.
The color cover, it's
Right.
assumed is going to be color. We're not talking about that. We're only talking about the interior pages.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we appreciate your being with us tonight. I hope it was informative. I hope it was helpful. Also, Jenny and I are not going anywhere. If you run into a problem dealing with Amazon or something doesn't make sense to you, or if you have other questions, just contact us. We're available and we're happy to help you in any way that we can.
And the one change that I made on that calculator, to do the page count, when you get down to the cost of a black and white paperback, I locked a cell that I shouldn't. If you put the page count in the color paperback, it'll tell you what the black and white is too. It's just, there's a locked cell. But if you think you're going to use it very often, drop me an email. It's just jennymargata@mail.com and I'll send you the updated spreadsheet.
I think I'm just gonna go ahead and send everybody the updated spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
I will take
Thank
care
you,
of that.
guys. This was very helpful.
Hey,
Good.
I
Well,
talked as fast as I could.
we both
That's
do.
great. Thank you.